Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Conversations. I'm Caster MJ, and along with me I have the co-hosts Deadly.
What's up, guys?
As well as the One-Eyed Crow.
How's it going, everyone?
So before we get into our topics, I just wanted to let everybody know that this YouTube channel, as well as this podcast, and our competitive team for Caster's Corner, we are all sponsored by Immortal Workshop. You'll be able to find Immortal Workshop's link down in the description below, and you can use code Caster's Corner at checkout, and that will let Immortal Workshop know that you came from Caster's Corner. So we're just going to hop right into the topics this week, guys. We got a few exciting ones planned for you. I've been real excited about this one for a while now. I think it's something that everybody might be interested in, whether you're new in the game or you're a veteran in the game. So with that being said, the first topic is just what are the four main sets of MetaZoo currently, and what are the main differences in our opinions on those sets. So with that being said, I'm just going to pass the mic over to the One-Eyed Crow, and he's going to start off by just introducing what the four main sets currently are in MetaZoo. So the One-Eyed Crow.
Yep. So the four sets, first we have Cryptid Nation, which has had a Kickstarter, a first edition, and a second edition release. That was followed up by Nightfall last fall. Then Wilderness this spring, and UFO released at the end of last month. So
awesome. In your opinions, now,
yes.
We'll start from the beginning. What was Cryptid Nation all about? And then where do you think it went to with the following set?
Yeah, so when I think of Cryptid Nation, I think of, it was an introductory set, right? So you have this idea of the cryptids and beasties and all of that. So there's a lot of cryptids in there that are very identifiable to people. Right? You have Flatwoods Monster, which people know a lot about. You have Bigfoot, you have Jersey Devil, Chupacabra, Bunny Man. So a lot of the beasties from that set, or the core beasties, are very identifiable to people, right? So it makes it very easy to jump in at that Cryptid Nation level. And that's not to say that the Nightfall beasties weren't identifiable. Some of them were, but I had never heard of Indrid Cold until Nightfall, right? Until MetaZoo.
Yeah, me neither.
So I feel like Nightfall started to kind of go outside of that realm of okay, here's what you're used to, and more into the okay, here's some of what you're used to, like Wendigo, which actually makes me think back to Supernatural, right? So I think it was the second episode of Supernatural had the Wendigo. So, and I think that was my first introduction to cryptids was Supernatural. So I tie them in my head a lot together. But so for me, when I think of Cryptid Nation, I think of it as like an introductory. This is what people are going to recognize. And then kind of going more into Nightfall, it's a lot darker. You have a very dark focus on that set. That's where you have your second version of the Mothman. You have your Wendigo, Indrid Cold. What were some of the other dark ones in that set?
Deadly, you played dark, so you would know.
Which ones did you name?
There were
Mothman,
there was
Wendigo,
Indrid Cold. For dark,
Headless Horseman. That's the one I'm forgetting. Headless Horseman.
Headless Horseman, yes,
which is
There's
what kept coming to my mind was just Nappery Bobs for some reason.
Nappery Bobs, which I still haven't played.
Love them.
But yeah, I started with Nightfall myself, so it has a special place in my heart. But
so Deadly, I want to ask you now the same question pretty much.
Okay.
What do you think Cryptid Nation pretty much was trying to do, and where do you think it went with Nightfall?
So I wasn't involved with Cryptid Nation when it was all coming out. When I got it myself, and when I opened the cards, it seemed like a very versatile set. Has a lot of big beasties. It has a lot of strong and powerful creatures right now in the set. And I think, MJ, you've made this comment to me multiple times, is that this is potentially, or has been said, that Cryptid Nation is the strongest and will always be the strongest set that comes out. So really,
it should be anyway.
well, with that, if that is accurate, then it's really just setting a baseline for the game, a baseline for the lore, introducing certain individual characters, certain beasties. I mean, the first comic introduces Injured Cold, but they don't introduce him until Nightfall. So different routes will get you involved and start experiencing different sides of the game, I think.
So, in your opinion, what was one of the main differences from Nightfall to Cryptid Nation?
That's a hard question. So Cryptid Nation, I opened a handful of booster boxes. So if you go on pull rate, that's one way to look at it. I think that Nightfall and Cryptid Nation were a little bit different. I think the two sets, it's just expansion of the set, and they did have a lot of solid beasties introduced in Nightfall as well. I personally think that Nightfall is not as core of a set for the game, for a competitive game. There's a handful of cards in there that are very, very good. Smoky Spirits, one of them, was a game changer. But with every set, other cards become less valuable. Yeah. So now, I have to say, when it came out, Nightfall definitely had an impact. But if you were to compare it to Wilderness, if you compare it to, we don't know UFO yet, but if you were to compare it to Wilderness, Wilderness had a much larger impact on the competitive gameplay, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
It had Prism Aura, it had everything. So Cryptid Nation was the baseline, and Nightfall was a continuance of the storyline with introduction of beasties and characters. That's kind of where I think.
I like that. I do want to point out two things that stand out to me. And this goes kind of for, I would say, all the sets in a way so far. I feel like it's very strategically planned out when the set releases. For example, the Nightfall set that we're talking about here, it's more like dark themed, like the One-Eyed Crow was saying. It's kind of like Halloween themed, honestly.
Yeah.
And it released around Halloween. Wilderness, it's very earthy, it's very springtimey, and it released in the springtime. And honestly, actually, when Wilderness first released, Deadly and I were in Orlando Collecticon, and we got a bunch of like spoiler packs and stuff from just attending the event and stuff, and that was our first time being able to see the cards. I was amazed at how bright they were. So I was used to the darkness of everything. I was like, holy crap. like this is not what I'm used to in MetaZoo right now. But they did that because the theme of the set is this bright springtime wilderness, and they released it in springtime. And again, they will be releasing the upcoming set, Seance, which again is like darker and Halloween themed again around Halloween time. So I think it's very strategic how like they plan their sets and the releases. So that's one difference that I notice is like they're kind of going with the seasons in a way. And I think that's something that other games don't do, and I think that's very interesting. Now, something else I wanted to mention is that the difference that I noticed for Nightfall compared to the first set, Cryptid Nation, is I feel like they did focus more on players, although, like Deadly was saying, I don't think it was as great of a set for competitive play. And what I mean by that is that they came out with non-holo versions of rare cards. And that was something that they did not do in Cryptid Nation. And me as a player, I severely appreciated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think.
Go ahead.
I think a little bit though. It took a little bit out. So if you go back and I go back on like my old history of Pokemon and ripping open Pokemon, there were no non-holos, and if you had it, you had to play it. And that's something that I actually kind of like, but I do appreciate value-wise, cost-wise, just availability. I would much rather have the non-hollows, so I do agree with that. But a little bit is just taken out of the excitement of like having that full hollow and knowing it's when they have the full hollows like the Obnoxious 9, the Wild 7, like all of these. Those are the ones that I like the most because there are no non-hollows, and I love that they still have that implemented in there.
So, and that is to interrupt you. That is another difference now going into the other set, Wilderness, which you did touch on as well, Deadly. But in Wilderness, they came out with like even more rarities. They came out with cards that only came in hollow and non-hollow and no reverse hollow, which was the first time that they did that. So they added like another layer now to the rarities, and I think that's something great for collectors, honestly, as well as the players, because now it's even for UFO. I feel like the non-hollows, the reverse hollows might even be more of a chase.
They're harder. They're harder to pull.
Yeah, MetaZoo's kind of like flipping this TCG world upside down. But the One-Eyed Crow, now going into Wilderness from Nightfall, what do you think, in your opinion, the main differences are from Nightfall to Wilderness now?
Yep. Yeah, I will say, since you just touched on it, the cards like Seafood Barbecue that didn't have the reverse hollow really tripped me up when I was trying to figure out what I still needed for my set. I was convinced that Seafood Barbecue was Wild 7. Until Jody was like, no, you're wrong. You know, this one comes in non-hollow. The biggest thing for me with Wilderness was, you kind of mentioned how bright it was, and it was the first set that I felt like I could take and I could give to somebody that's younger and has parents that aren't going to judge me for giving them a Gluttony or a Matlox or something.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I feel like it's the first set that you're not going to have parents kind of being like, what the heck are you playing with right now? And when they see some of these more grotesque cards, and we're getting back to that with Seance, right? Of this darker set, of this probably more grotesque set, some weird stuff going on. You have the box art was done in blood, right? I was like, okay, it's a little darker. It's a little more. It's different. It's the exact opposite of Wilderness.
It's a lot darker.
It's a lot darker. Cool, but a lot darker.
Yeah.
So, and really, as soon as that first box of Wilderness that I opened, that was my first thought. Was like, okay, this is gonna bring in the younger crowd. This is gonna get parents to kind of adopt the fact that they're gonna be okay with their kids playing MetaZoo, and they're not demon cards that
Yeah.
You're just gonna start seeing on TV when pastors are like, this is a Satan's card.
I want to interrupt you because
Yes.
before I lose this thought. This is just an on the spot question. You Mr. News Guy here. I want to know your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and my knowledge could be wrong on this, but I believe Wilderness, they introduced a bunch of new artists into the set, into the company, I should say. I'm sorry, not the set.
Yep.
Do you believe that was planned out to do some of that, to make it more appealing and maybe a little more friendly art or something like that? Or do you think it just like kind of happened by chance?
Yeah, I believe it was Afton's first set, right?
I believe it was Afton's first set. I believe it was Jet Yates' first set. I believe it was also, I think the only card that I could remember.
Was it Isaac Skylee too?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think Isaac only did the Jersey Devil promo for Nightfall for that blister pack.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was in the main set yet, and I think they got rid of some artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just wondering, this is literally on the spot, I was just wondering your opinion on, like, do you think it was planned out, or?
The style of those artists, right, it's much more, I think it was probably planned out, right? Their art is a little less dark. I don't think of them as, kind of having the same art style as what we saw in Cryptid Nation and Nightfall.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of interesting that you bring that up because I think the artists for MetaZoo are amazing, obviously, but Wilderness was a big shift in the artwork in terms of, in my opinion, quality. And that's not to say that the art isn't quality in Cryptid Nation and Nightfall, but
yeah.
it's a noticeable step up in practice, in execution of the art, in my opinion. And I didn't really think of that from let's look at these new artists that were introduced in that set that has something to do with it. Poncho's been around for a long time. And I think Poncho has improved from Cryptid Nation to Nightfall to, Wilderness to UFO where we're at now.
I would agree, yeah.
So, yeah, when I think of the artists that you mentioned, Isaac Sky Lee, Jet Yates, Afton, etc., I think of them as kind of brighter, more vibrant kind of artists, and that really played into Wilderness and Poncho, in my opinion. Anytime I see something that's black and red, instantly I'm like, that's probably Poncho, right? So he kind of has that darker kind of theme.
Yeah.
And dropping kind of the grotesque type cards, maybe I'm missing something that might have happened in Wilderness off the top of my head. I don't remember every single card, but I look back at Gluttony and like Matlocks and those type of cards, and those are the ones that I'd pull and be like, okay, let's move on to something a little different, And that was a huge shift. And UFO's the same thing. You don't really see a lot of that kind of darker, more grotesque card, but we're going to get back into that with Seance, most likely.
Yeah. I will say part of the reason that I got into the game was because of I like the darkness of it compared to like that very kid-friendly Pokemon or something of that nature. But it was very refreshing when Wilderness came out to see those, brighter things, in my opinion.
I actually...
Deadly. Yeah, I was just going to ask your opinion.
Yeah, no, I listened to you guys long enough. I heard. So, I actually have just a little bit different. So, I really, really, really like Cryptid Nation art. Like, it's like almost like the same as Pokemon the 151. Like, weirdly enough, in a short period of time, I'm comparing the 151 to CN1 or CN just in general. Just because there's a baseline of beasties and like I know some, I learned some, and then also being a player, they're very, very strong and they have a lot of utility. So I keep them around and I like to use them in expansion sets. But as the sets went on, they went Cryptid Nation, on the roughers. I don't say rough, but like on the harder side. There were some more risque like photos, I guess you could say, like people eating people and stuff like that. I don't know. But then you go to Nightfall, and then they were still in there a little bit. I think that they felt obligated to continue maybe in Nightfall because they just came from CN, and they were transitioning into a little bit of a softer, a little bit more of a family-friendly game. Once you go into Wilderness, it's little fluffy bunnies and cute dragons and like. It took a turn, you know what I mean? And now they have set up a different direction with that set, and I'd like to see what they do with Seance. I want to see this line that they're gonna get so close to with how they're gonna do fun and friendly and dark and sinister.
So
I'd like to see
one
it.
thing I'm very curious about is that, to my knowledge, I've heard that there is going to be chibis in the set, and it's going to be a dark set. So I'm very curious. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've just heard through the grapevines that might be true, and I think that would be great to see some dark as in like spooky, I should say. You know what I mean? Something creepy along those lines, but also cute at the same time. You know what I mean?
Chippy old scratch.
Because Wilderness again was a very friendly set, and they had a bunch of chibis along in the Wilderness set. So I'm very curious how it would look if it's true and there are actually some chibis in the Seance set, which I hope there are. I would be excited to see it. But Deadly, now going into UFO.
Yeah.
We played competitively in the Casters Cup. We play competitively weekly as friends. But now we have a whole new set that just came out 3 weeks ago. Where do you see the main differences now with this set UFO?
From this set to comparing to what, CN or all three
like
of them?
like everything combined with Wilderness introduced, now going into UFO.
So I feel like,
what do you see changed in the meta, in MetaZoo, and whatever you thinking?
so for UFO, forgive me, it's been out for 2 weeks and I have not studied every single card yet, so it's hard to see exactly where the meta's going. I most recently I made an Earth Spellbook, scratch that. I just made a Frost one. I like that one right now. I really, really like Pamela. But I'm going into like card mechanics and things like that. UFO is just very well done and well executed. I personally, when I opened a booster box and I was ripping open cards, I was like honestly excited to see what I was pulling. There was not a lot of spoilers. They released. I got my booster boxes pretty much a couple days after the spoilers were happening at the Comic-Con. I guess it happened at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
UFO. I like what they're doing. They're taking other. I mean, they redid Flatwood Monsters, and for the longest time, I've loved Flatwood Monsters.
It's a better one.
It's a better one. It really is. I've looked at the one from CN for so long and been like, what can I do with this? It's like 30 LP. It comes in fatigued. Its best ability is being able to fatigue it and remove status effects. But other than that, it's very circumstantial and you have to use a lot for it. But now that I've seen that they redid it and they added it into UFO, I like what they did there, and I'm very interested to see what they can do with other cards and redoing them or just re-entering them in a new way. So I like that.
100%.
They did that there.
Now the One-Eyed Crow. This is the first set that you became a player with.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you the same question, but more along the lines of like, what have you noticed the difference might be collector-wise for UFO?
Yeah, the big thing is definitely the booster boxes are very full hollow heavy, right? I don't know. I've seen one box opened that had more than 6. I've opened more than a handful myself, and it's rare for me to get more than 6.
You mean less than 6?
More than 6 reverse hollows.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Right. So sorry.
No, that's my fault.
So it does seem like at least this initial wave of booster boxes that went out is very full hollow heavy, and maybe that's going to mean that the back half of UFO is going to be very reverse hollow heavy. I hope not, because what I like about that is you have a reason to buy booster boxes. You have a reason to buy spell books to complete your set. You go for your booster boxes to get full hollows. You go for your spell books to get your reverse hollows to complete that set. At a certain point,
I really like that as well. I like that.
I mean, as mad as it made me to only have 2 of the Supernova 6 out of 4 booster boxes, I still appreciated the fact that it is going to take me more than 4 booster boxes, and that cards are really harder to pull. I mean, there's non-hollows that I haven't pulled yet. So I really like how they kind of made it a little harder to get things. Like other previous sets, I feel like I could have a full set within 3-4 booster boxes. This one, not the case.
Yep. Exactly.
Now, the One-Eyed Crow, this is also the first set where there is more than 1 blister art. What's your opinion on that?
Yes. So I like that a lot, actually, because it gives you a reason to buy more than 1 blister, right? And you've always had a reason if you're a player. Don't get me wrong. From a collector standpoint, you never had a reason to buy more than 4. You want to be that hard.
Yeah.
Now you need to buy 16 if you're going to collect all of them, because you're buying one of each promo, plus the packs inside them can be one of 4. And then if you're actually trying to do a full set of all of those promos as a player, if you want to do a master set of a player set, right? I don't know what the spellbook limits on them are on all of them are at the top of my head, but you're going to be doing a lot more, right?
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing because, for example, UFO is one of the Supernova 6.
Yes.
And I didn't want to risk opening booster boxes trying to pull UFO. I mean, I did end up pulling one actually, but I bought 2 of those blisters just so I could rip those, and now I have a playset of the Supernova 6 UFO, basically. It's the same card, different art.
All 4 of those are actually relatively hard to pull in general. And the pull rate on them, I think, personally. Wakinyan, the electric 1-drop, I pulled a lot of. But UFO, Foo Fighters, T-Rex.
T-Rex
pulled
is
one
another
Foo Fighters. And one UFO. I pulled a UFO and Whatnot or something.
I haven't pulled a single T-Rex yet.
I think I pulled one.
So yeah, I'm glad I bought the 5 blister packs to complete the playset of that.
The blister packs always sell out first too. So it's one of those things that if you're gonna try to get those, you need to do that right away before those sell out.
I think that the fact that in the previous set, Wilderness, it was very well known that the first, and I think there was another one, Green Man, the secret rare of the set, was pulled from the blister. I think that knowing that you're able to pull possibly secret rares from blisters made people want to buy more of those blisters, and I think that was a great idea to throw them in other things besides just booster boxes.
Every line.
I definitely didn't go out and buy a bunch of blister packs after that first Green Man was pulled.
Sarcasm?
Yeah, nobody did, right?
I bought so many. I still have some.
I know. Actually, Deadly, once the reserve list came out, I'm going to blow up Deadly's spot right now, and I don't care. Once the reserve list came out, Deadly bought like 50 or no more 70 something like Jersey Devil blisters or something.
I don't want to say the number because you didn't even say it.
No, I'm not gonna say it. I don't know the number, but
if you need Nightfall blisters, I'll sell them to you very cheap. Give away. We give away for free.
We have, yeah. I mean, like it was they came out on the reserve list, and the shop like was not following up on MetaZoo and stuff, and he was able to pick up a ton of them for nothing because nobody.
They were MSRP. They were MSRP. I bought them at MSRP.
Oh yeah, and
but the
true.
market
but the
is
prices
double
were
that.
up.
That's the thing.
Yeah, and I didn't blame him. I'm still hoping I could grab some of them off of them when I have the funds. Those are gonna
sit for a while.
But I personally love the blisters. They're honestly one of my favorite products that MetaZoo offers, and part of it is because of you get that promo with it, which usually is a pretty decent card, but also you get a token. I love the metal coins that MetaZoo does, and if you're somebody who goes to like Collecticon, usually there's some type of redemption for those coins as well. So me being me, I want to get as many of those as possible.
It's the cheapest way to get the coin.
Exactly.
Everything else is
100%.
Theme deck, release event deck, spellbook.
100%. And like you mentioned, the One-Eyed Crow, they're a hot commodity. They sell out quick, so I like to have them just even as a collector for that resale value, possibly.
Yep.
They might be something that's way easier to resell than a booster box that goes up to $1,000. Something like that. What's the most a single blister pack could go up to, in my opinion? It might be easier to offload.
We saw CN1 up to 60 or 70 not too long ago, right? So you still make
a good amount 65, on it. I think.
Yeah. But that's a more realistic buy for somebody to put in their collection than like a $13,000 Kickstarter box or something like that.
Absolutely.
So now I just want to ask, individually, each one, what your favorite set is of the 4 main sets and kind of why. Just very briefly. So I'm going to start with Deadly. Deadly, what is your favorite of the 4 core main sets right now, and why?
So it's gonna be Cryptid Nation. Cryptid Nation, hands down. There's a lot of key beasties, competitive play, strong beasties, but as more sets come out, that may change. How easily they're handled may change, and then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to change it to a different set. But right now, total value for gameplay, I think CN is by far, hands down, the best set. So I'd say the best set, but the most versatile set, the most useful set currently right now. Baseline for any spell books, I think a good starting point is CN.
Awesome. The One-Eyed Crow, same question. What is currently your favorite set, and give a reason behind that if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's a hard choice. It really is. So I'm coming at it more from a collector's standpoint, because I only recently started playing, and I think for me it's UFO. And there's 2 main reasons. One, it's no surprise, Lily's my favorite artist, right? So this is the first set that has Lily's art in it. So it's really awesome to see, the cards in there, Levelin, Rocket, and all of that.
There's some dope ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of amazing ones. And not even just Lily's art. I mean, there's a lot of amazing art in UFO in general. I think it is, in terms of art, the best set that's out there. They improve with every single one. I'm really excited to see what they can do, or what they're going to do with Seance. And, we're starting to get some of those teases. And the other reason is it's the first set that I felt like was above and beyond hyped, right? People have been waiting for UFO for a long time, so it's been known for a long time. People have been talking about it for a long time. And what they did with Sent into Space, right? You had this big, asinine gesture that they did to promote it. Something that, when they first said it, you're like, yeah, right, they're not going to do that, right? Like, and then they sent the cards into space. So, they're serious.
I didn't think they were actually going to do it.
So, you start to see how the company operates and what they're willing to do to disrupt the market, right? And I feel like they didn't really do that so much with Wilderness, with Nightfall, with Cryptid Nation. They were focused on growing that collector base, growing that player base. And now we're seeing things like, okay, we're going to send these cards to space. Okay, the box art for this was done in blood. What is the kind of the thing that you can market about this, or that makes it special, unique, etc. So for me, it's UFO.
I mean, we're still looking for Pin Club, I
can't wait for Pin Club.
I am extremely excited.
Don't get me started on Pin
Club. different episode. Sorry.
You guys know I'm a pinhead. I collect those pins like crazy. So that's one of my favorite things. I can't wait for UFO pins to drop. If I don't get a meteorite.
I hope one of us pulls a meteorite.
I would love to. That's something again that puts MetaZoo, I think, to me, over the top. Like, who else is doing something like that? But that again has to do with, in my opinion, Mike and his relationships and who he is as a person and how he does business and things like that. People might throw a lot of shade on Mike, but I personally think he's very well connected and knows exactly what the heck he's doing.
I agree with that. I believe that he's taking it in different directions and entering into different platforms that TCGs just don't touch usually. And he has a lot of connections, and he has ideas, and he has a path, and he's executing it, and he's executing it well.
Yeah, I would agree. So I just want to share real quick my opinion. I do want to say that I was probably one of those people who was on the hype train for UFO. but I personally feel like it did not meet my expectations. And I feel like that's coming from more of the player standpoint. I feel like I was way more hyped up on UFO making Cosmic and maybe some other aura types that were struggling in the meta a little more powerful. And I feel like it really, as a player, did not help many aura types out.
That's yet
so
to be seen. We don't know yet.
It is. It's just my first initial opinion of it was I was like, damn, I was really hoping that, whatever. I don't know what I was expecting, honestly, but it just, for some reason, I was riding that hype train. It's kind of like when you see like those previews for a movie and it's like, best movie ever. And you're like, I saw that and it was, I like this other one better. It's like, it wasn't the best movie ever.
So, I do want to interrupt. Along that lines, because I'm very new to the player side, what auras do you think could have benefited from a boost in UFO?
So I honestly feel like even Cosmic did not get the boost it deserved in UFO for being UFO. I feel like Deadly might have mentioned already. I feel like Wilderness kind of bumped the Cosmic aura more than Cosmic did.
Yeah,
exactly
what happened.
That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird to me. Like, why didn't they save some of those maybe for the UFO release? But there's some other aura types. Like we clearly saw that some answers in Wilderness to like Frogman, and then in UFO there's more answers to Frogman. It's like, but what about Spirit? Spirit's still slacking right now. There's not enough cards that are powerful or usable in Spirit to make it a competitive deck, in my opinion. And I'm somebody who loves Spirit, and I try to mess with it for every release. And I'm able to make a very nice, usually semi-competitive deck, but it will never be fully competitive right now. And that's just one example that's coming to my head. But I do feel like, in my opinion, and this is my answer, Wilderness for me is my favorite set so far. And that, again, is coming from the player standpoint. And it comes because, for me, Wilderness made the game, and Deadly even said this, way more competitive. We now got Prism Aura. We could make dual aura decks so much easier. They really had some powerful cards, even some powerful one-drops.
There's more neutral costs, I think, too. UFO is heavy on neutral split, like neutral split. It's not dual aura.
But that has to do with the neutrality totality aura, in my opinion. So I would say that UFO is almost riding on the back of Wilderness for setting up that competitive play. But at the same time, and I mentioned this in our first episode, don't throw any card out. Like, don't consider it out for competitive play. It might have its time, and it might just not be now. But I feel like right now with UFO releasing, a lot of the cards might be like kind of throwaway cards. Like, I read them and I'm like, why would I put this in my deck? That's not to say that once Seance comes out, they might be the most powerful card in the game. Who knows, But just me as a player right now, just, again, like Deadly said, it's so new, so we don't know yet, really. But just first opinion, I'm like, I wish it was more powerful, and I wish it was more cosmic. I have planets and stuff tattooed on me. I love space. I was just personally a little disappointed with the whole UFO thing, but at the same time, I still love the set. I'm not downplaying it at all. Like, the artwork is crazy. The collectability, in my opinion, is fantastic. The way they did those booster boxes, like we were saying, makes me want to keep buying more. But I just think they did hype it up, in my opinion.
I think it's yet to be seen where UFO is going to go.
It's so new.
When Long Beach happens, that tournament happens. that's gonna kind of shed some light on where things are moving. And then the thing is like it builds. So when I watch deck decks, I learn something that someone else has figured out, and then I try and take it and make it my own, or say, oh, but what about this? I can add more. So it's like evolving and expanding upon each of our own minds and the sets as they grow.
That's honestly my favorite part about kind of diving into the player stuff too. So I don't want to take a deck that somebody else has built. I want to figure out something.
No, me neither.
I don't either.
You know, I'm playing out a Lechuza Griddle Greaser Pete deck right now, and trying to work out the kinks of that, because I do think that there's some strong stuff that you can do with Spirit and UFO. But I like to tinker and just kind of figure out, you know, what's good for myself. So yeah.
For sure, because that's also true too. That's something that you just mentioned that I wasn't even thinking of, honestly. You said it's good for me, meaning yourself. Everybody has their own play style as well.
Yep.
So, you know, that was, again, just me reading the cards, first opinion on my play style and how I play the game. You guys very well might crack the meta and find something that I was not thinking of. My own team members point out stuff to me that I didn't notice, you know what I mean? Deadly does it all the time. It's like, how come you're doing this and not this, and why didn't you add this instead of this? And my mind just doesn't go there. So again, it's just my first opinion, and you know, they're very well, I could be wrong. You know. But I think we spoke about that enough, and we can move on now to the next topic, which honestly I personally am the most excited for. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So for all the viewers, we all decided that we were going to choose our favorite card from each set and share that with you. And going into this, there was no rules pretty much. So it could be because we like the artwork, it could be because of the playability, it could be for whatever reason. But we chose a card from each one of the 4 core sets, as well as we did not really touch on this episode, but we will probably get into this in the future as well. We chose one card from the subsets or promo cards that were released as well, because there have been a bunch of those. So each one of us have chosen 5 cards, one from each of the sets and one either subset or promo card. So we're going to start in chronological order and end with the promo. So, One-Eyed Crow, if you don't mind, share with us what card you chose to be your favorite card from Cryptid Nation.
So my favorite card from Cryptid Nation is actually Bunnyman. And a lot of my favorite cards actually kind of have a story behind them. So Bunnyman, it really stuck out because I have a friend that I used to work with. Every Halloween, he would come into work in the pink bunny suit from Christmas Story.
Yeah.
And it's when
I've been told I look like the guy from the movie. I get called that every Christmas.
Yeah.
They tell me don't shoot my eye out. Yep.
Yeah. No, exactly. And it was one of those things. I pulled that card for the first time, and it was like, and like, you know, you have to go like tell him, and like, okay, I have this card for you. Like, you need this card. So, you know, it was one of those moments that like I was able to connect with the card game on a personal level.
That's amazing. I really like that. You should get him to autograph a card for you.
Yeah. You are the bunny.
Yeah, that's. I hope not. Deadly, what was your favorite card from CN and how come?
So it's changed over time. I had to sit down and think about it. But right now, currently, favorite card hands down in CN is Fresno Nightcrawlers. So it's. I'll just let you guys know it's Cosmic.
I was not expecting that. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
So most recently, I've known this about him, and I've really wanted to do it with him. But with the dual aura, with the artifacts that allow you to kind of expand with a set, the Prism, it allowed me to really throw this in because it is a 2-cost Cosmic. But my favorite thing about this is not only is it just a simplicity of the art, I like the background of it, but Fleet and Spirit, swings for 50. The best part about it, hand down, is dropping this in a dual aura deck and having Cosmic just be a drop. And then when you play Fresno Nightcrawlers and you have any amount of cards in your hand, you get to basically new beginnings yourself. Throw the cards in the spellbook, shuffle up, and then go ahead and draw those cards again. I think that's what makes him so powerful, on top of being 50 damage right off rip play, bam, swinging for 50. And then you can't even swing back at him. So,
yeah. You played that against me last week in your dark deck. I'm like, what?
Yeah, this one's great in dark. Yeah. This is really good in dark.
Yeah. No, I was not expecting that, but yeah, I love that card as well. So I personally chose the Ghost Train. I just loved the artwork when I first saw it. To my knowledge, I believe it is one of the Obnoxious 9. So it only comes in full holo.
Yep.
And it is one of the only cards that's almost a completely full holo card. For those of you who have not collected MetaZoo before and have not seen the cards before, the holographic cards in MetaZoo, the background is holo and the creature itself is not. In this, it's very small. That's not holo. So almost the entire card is holo. But on top of that, again, it's a spirit card. So I just personally love that spirit aura. I'm a very, I'm very into like horror movies and things like that. So it just fits my personality. But I also think for playability, not only is the card good, but it's also, in my opinion, MetaZoo. And what I mean by that is it's kind of silly. It's anytime that you would place a card into the afterlife, you would make the sound of a train. And by doing so, then the card takes another action. Exactly. Well, I mean, that's up to interpretation, I guess, as well. I guess you could go like chugga 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 if you want to do it well.
I can. What are you doing, Paul?
But exactly. So to me, that's like what MetaZoo is. It's kind of these like silly things on top of very strategic gameplay. Like the fourth wall, things that happen in the game where like you need to bring certain items and stuff. Like no other game does that, and that's a little silly. So no other game, to my knowledge, are you making train noises and things like that. So to me, that's my card for CN. I just love the artwork on it. I love that it's a little silly, and then I love that it has some actual competitive play use as well. If it has more support in spirit.
It's still strong. So now, it's a spirit artifact that has 100 LP, 110, 100 LP. That's very strong.
It's very strong. Yeah. So it would only be killed by like spells and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty nuts, But yeah, we'll move on to Nightfall now. So, the One-Eyed Crow. What is your favorite Nightfall card?
So again, story behind it. Oklahoma Octopus. So the first thing I ever opened for MetaZoo was a Nightfall Spellbook. So I got in around the end of December, beginning of January timeframe. At the time, I didn't know why Nightfall Spellbooks were so cheap. Now I do. It's because people didn't like the fact that there were so many reverse hollows in them.
Yes.
I like the reverse hollows, and I think the reverse hollows at that time, and I still do, maybe a little less so now. I thought they made the game very special, right? Because you don't see reverse hollows in other games very often.
Yeah.
So the first card I ever pulled for MetaZoo for a holo was Oklahoma Octopus. So to this day, it's just one of those cards I look at and can think back on that memory of this is the first holo card for MetaZoo that I ever physically held.
That's amazing, and that is a great first pull as well, because that is a very not only pretty card in my opinion, but a very competitive card as well.
But I wouldn't know that.
So You've never faced a frog deck before with a flying octopus because mana ray is touching it. It's a pain in the ass, man. Let me tell you.
You have the option to make eight tentacle tokens, which count as water pages, and people pair that with Chessie.
Yeah, that with Chessie. Now you have 8
off.
extra. Oh man.
You have like 2 turns left. If you have that going on, you have like 2 turns.
I'm gonna pretend that I've been playing for longer than a week and know what Chessie does.
Chessie gets boosts for every water page other than itself on the arena. So he gets plus 10 attack, I think. So he's swinging for a lot when Octopus comes out with 8 tentacles.
All right.
Imagine like tribal boost, but instead of for tribe, it's just for the aura type.
Just the aura type.
Including the actual aura pages.
Yeah.
So if you're playing like if you're playing like a water mirror match, so your opponent is playing water as well, it's pretty nuts sometimes because it's any page in the arena. Yeah. So Deadly, you for Nightfall, what was your choice?
This one was actually surprisingly enough, this one was kind of hard. Because I played light in Caster Cup, I was leaning towards. You know what? Never mind. I made the choice.
I'm just going
for it. Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel. I really like the card. Let me just check. You know, 2 per spellbook, flying, 3 aura. Basically, the only reason that I chose this versus Smoky Spirits is because it can be a Smoky Spirits. Very similar like Fofo.
Yeah.
This one I can play at any time. So when you target me for an attack, I can play this on my turn, which makes it so just
you could play it on their turn, on your turn. It doesn't matter.
Well, so the only way that you can actually nullify an attack is playing it on the opponent's turn when an attack is targeted, and then basically you can't attack me, the caster, until the next turn. So you can go after my beasties, but overall, I mean, I'm getting too deep into the mechanics of the card, but overall, hollow, reverse hollow, non-hollow, love them all, and the playability, love it, hands down.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very powerful card. I also agree that Nightfall was the hardest one for me to choose for some reason.
It really was.
I don't know why. I'll tell you the one that I was going to choose and literally last minute switched. I was going to choose the Kinderhook Blob. I just love the LP equals, the attack and things like that. To me, it made the game so fun and so different. But I did end up choosing Smoky Spirits as mine.
It's a staple.
It's a staple. I honestly don't play it as much as
it's specific.
For choosing it. Yeah, for choosing it as my favorite card. I honestly don't play it as much as you think I would. But it definitely changed the game.
Do you always side deck it?
So no, I don't even always side deck it, honestly.
All right.
But it as much as I love the card, it is what made Frogman be the top of the meta at the time, because it offered protection for that frog for the first time ever. So at the same time, I kind of hate the card, I'm not going to lie. Honestly, and like I would be lying to you if I said I did not get annoyed when somebody uses it against me.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
There's a few worse things, but it's one of the worst. Yeah, it's very upsetting. I'm just like,
you want to see me get angry? Play Smoky Spirits on my attack. I'll get angry.
So, as much as I love it, I equally hate it, but I love it personally for where it brought the game to. It changed the game, in my opinion. But that's pretty much all I can say about that. So, the One-Eyed Crow. What now was your favorite card from Wilderness?
I love how different all of our cards are, because I come at it from a different very different angle, not playing until recently. So for me,
this is why I was excited for this.
Yeah, for me it's Weeping Angel, and that has to do a lot with, again, kind of pulling from, personal experiences. The Doctor Who episode, Don't Blink, or I think it was just called Blink, right? Had the Weeping Angels in it, and that was the first time, first time I ever saw the Weeping Angels. But it was a very freaky episode, and I have a friend from college who can't even, he can't see this card, or he will freak out. He's that afraid of him.
I love it.
Yeah, so it was another one of those things that I was able to kind of connect to, I know what this is. So, I know kind of a little bit about the lore and how it's been used in other pop culture, not so much in the last couple years, but, Christopher Eccleston, David Tennant, that time frame of Doctor Who, I was really into it. So it was just one of those things to kind of pull back from my past and have a recognizable card, and I love Weeping Angels.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I would not have guessed Weeping Angels as being somebody's favorite card. So
not even. Fielded all the way.
But but again, this is why we have this whole podcast. You know what I mean? We're here to give our own opinions and share some conflicting ideas, and I love that. That, to me, that's just beautiful, honestly.
I don't think I'm the only one. I think it's going to be mostly Whovians.
You're probably not. It's very rare to be the only one in the world that's anything. So usually, if I like something, somebody else likes it as well.
I've had that. That's very, very true.
So, Deadly. Now it's your turn. Wilderness, favorite card.
Most people are just, if you know the sets, you should guess this one. One of, if not the most, impactful card in that set would be the Prism Aura. I like the hollow art on it. I like the colors, and you can't argue with what it does for the game. It literally opens the door for everything. You have to have
explain for somebody who is not a player what the Prism Aura does, so they can get a feel for how it changed the game.
So Prism Aura. So in the gameplay, the cost to play cards is aura. You're fatiguing aura to generate the aura to contract these beasties. So for the first two sets, there was just straight aura types, and then the second set of Nightfall, or the set of Nightfall, they introduced aurifacts, or I guess artifact essence. Sorry.
There you go.
Which had the dual aura. You could fatigue and generate two separate auras in one card. This Wilderness, they came out with a Prism Aura. And the Prism Aura is a one aura. It fatigues for one aura, but it fatigues for any aura of any type. So there's two per spellbook. So pair two of those with an artifact essence and regular aura, you can do dual aura in a deck very easily. So that is why I liked it so much, because before it was just artifact essence. You have two per spellbook. That's what you were waiting for, or you were pulling straight aura in, and it's tough to find that line between straight aura and mixed aura. So this just saved me a big headache on how to figure that one out.
It made it much easier to splash in other colors, and that didn't mean like you necessarily needed to split the deck. Maybe you just needed a couple spells or a couple quick low cost cards to improve your deck, and this finally allowed that ability. So I will agree that was a very powerful card. This might surprise you, but my card that I chose is Overgrown City, which is that's a Terra page actually. So again, Terra is something that sets MetaZoo apart in my opinion. It's a surrounding that you could play in the game. So literally like city, desert, anything you could kind of imagine, farm, all these things will affect the gameplay. Overgrown City is a special Terra, and Wilderness was the first set to release these special Terras. And what Overgrown City does is, again, going back to the aura like we were just talking about with Deadly, you need this aura to be able to contract your pages into the arena. So Overgrown City, when you play that card, it allows every player to search their deck and put another aura into the field. Granted, it's not awake, you can't use it right away, but it's a way to ramp the deck. And again, kind of like how Deadly was saying, it offered that ability for dual aura. If I was playing a mainly flame deck, for example, and I needed dampen a water spell, and I was not running the Aurafact essences, I could, if I have Overgrown City, I could play that Overgrown City and pull out the one of maybe 2 water pages that I have in my deck. So that made it very more available for me to play that dual aura, which I'm always experimenting with, and my teammates honestly hate me for it. But it also allowed the rampage for any like aggressive deck that has high cost beasties. So there are some 6-drop, some 7-drop. Grim Reaper, is that 9-drop? Am I wrong on that?
9-drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's a 9-drop. But
So-
it's also good to mention that it also is used as a regular straight Terra for all the bonuses on the
Correct.
cards.
Correct. So yeah, if your card has a bonus from City, Overgrown City does count as that regular City bonus as well. So yeah, I just thought it was a very interesting card that changed the gameplay, and City does have a lot of bonuses in the game. So I throw it in decks that don't even use City, honestly, just so I could get that extra aura out sometimes. But we will move on to now Wilderness. No, that was Wilderness, I'm
UFO.
sorry. UFO. And the one I'd throw, go ahead with what your
Yeah.
choice was for UFO.
So first off, I'm going to say I don't hate that you play dual aura. I love it. Because one of the first things, it's just one of the first things that I heard about this game is, dual aura is not strong enough yet, nobody plays it. To me, that's instantly like, well, that means that people aren't, possibly finding the right synergies. So that's what I want to search for now.
Yeah.
So for UFO, my choice, and this is the only one of my choices that is based on playability, and my choice was the caster's gun, and that's because, and for those of you that don't know, the caster gun, you get to trade 100 life points for each aura cost that you can't pay on a card. So if I wanted to play Flood the Earth, which is 5 water, I have my 2 Prism Auras for 2 of those, and I have to make up the 3 somewhere. I could pay 300 life points to then make up those 3 and play Flood the Earth. And that's exactly why I think it's incredibly important for the meta going forward. You do have to sacrifice some life points, but Fire, for instance, has no board clears. So if you want to play a Fire deck, and you want to have board clears, this provides you a way to do that. Yes, you have to sacrifice possibly 300 life points to do it, or throw some water aura in, but I don't know, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I would just stick with the fire aura and the Prism Auras.
But yeah, I get your point though. Yeah, it does completely
You can bring
change the
board
game.
clears and these other kind of dynamics from some of the other auras into these decks that wouldn't have them. So if you're in a pinch and, if MJ, if you're ahead of me by 400 life points, say I have 400 left, you have 800, and I'm in a bind, but I get my board clear. Yeah, I'm going to be going down to 100, but we're going to start fresh again. And last week there was a game where I came back 100 to 800 and ended up winning, right?
Yeah.
So you can come back
Yeah.
from that. It's not going to be easy, but if you can get the right cards to play, you can definitely come back from a tight game. And I feel like Caster's Gun is going to be something that, at least personally, I'm going to play with a lot more to try to get, either a Flood the Earth or the Supernatural Black Hole into some of my decks that don't have that versatility to wipe out, all of these, green fireballs that my opponents have.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the crow. Let me spin your head a little bit. I'm gonna take it one step farther. So, magic engineer oil with caster gun.
Okay.
So, play caster gun. Everything comes in fatigued. You can't use it. So you have the possibility of that turn that you're passing won't come back, and you won't have the caster gun. Magic engineer oil, you awaken it upon, you bring it out, it's fatigued, you get to awaken it. So it's almost like a lightning in a bottle for artifacts.
Right.
And you get to initially use it. Say you have that 2 pieces, so you get to play it immediately. So that's just gameplay. Sorry.
No, it's true, because if caster's gun becomes what I think it can be for the meta, obviously I'm not qualified to talk about any of that. I've been playing for 2 weeks.
No, you're on to something.
It's gonna be an easy target. It's gonna come out and people are gonna be like, okay, I need to get rid of that. So you're exactly right.
I do want to say real quick, don't sell yourself short. People could come into this game brand new and teach us veterans something that we may not have ever seen before. So I just wanted to throw that out there. You've beaten me every time we've played so far, so don't sell yourself short, man. This game is about wits, and sometimes new people are wittier than me. But I'm gonna move that on now to Deadly UFO. What is your favorite card?
All right. So with the set just releasing 2 weeks ago, with my research and the things that I've kind of looked into, I'm a little biased. As of last night, I made a Frost Spellbook, so I am choosing Pamela. Pamela is the 3-drop 60 LP Frost Beastie. You can have 4 per spellbook, and it's spirit and flying. Granted, that doesn't necessarily get you across through fire with direct damage, but it's still super strong because I'm not necessarily using this as an attacker. Yes, he's an awesome, solid attacker, but I'm using him to have snowing active. And the idea behind that is the play on all of the active Terra bonuses for CN. I think I have Tizeric, and he gets invisibility when it's snowing. Babe the Blue Ox has 100 plus on its Terra bonus. And Jack
crazy,
Frost,
right?
Jack Frost did combo with him. They both make. So Jack Frost destroys Terra, but they both make winter or snowing out. So it increases, and he's a 3-drop that allows snowing to be active rather than Jack Frost, who's a 5-drop, who allows it to be snowing out. So
awesome.
I personally think that this is a super strong Frost card.
Yeah, and I think that UFO did a good job of actually bringing a few auras, more powerful cards, to make them more competitive. The 2 that are coming to my mind are Frost and Earth. And Pamela was actually my runner-up for my favorite card for Wilderness.
Not to mention, I
really UFO as well.
I really do like the art on this. Not to mention,
it's a beautiful card.
Yeah, full hollow. It's a beautiful card.
Who did the art on that?
So, Kelsey Chiquino.
So the one that beat Pamela for me was Griddle Gracer Pete.
Of course.
I don't know what it is about me. I just get in these mindsets sometimes where once my opinion's made, it's not going to be changed type of thing. That happened in Wilderness when I saw Snipe for the first time. And again, this was going back to Orlando Collecticon. The set wasn't even released yet. I didn't know it was a powerful card. I did not know it was a part of the Wild 7. I fell in love with it. And to this day, it's still my favorite beastie, the Snipe.
Not as much as Overgrown City. I guess he said beastie.
Overgrown City was just my favorite playable card from this set, honestly.
I was surprised you didn't do Snipe. Now that you said something.
Snipe is my favorite beastie in the game, still to this day, honestly. It's, for some reason, I just think it's funny as heck. But Griddle Greaser Pete, I saw for the first time, and I had that same exact opinion, where I seen that beastie, and I was like, this guy's just cute, silly, I need it. So I was lucky enough to pull one on my first opening. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was my first booster box. I'm sorry. And when I read the abilities and the powers and everything like that, I was like, "Oh crap, he's actually good as well." Yeah, he's actually good as well. Like, so not only do I like him for a 2-drop, yeah, and so he is a part of the Supernatural 6, and he does only come in full holo, and he is a collectible card. He's very powerful, but I just think the artwork is very cute, adorable, and kind of silly. You know, he's a pig wearing bacon sliding on a flat iron skillet, essentially. And to me, it's just hilarious. So yeah, for me, I just had to choose Griddle Greaser Pete. I'm currently, as you guys know, because you're both on my team, I am currently trying to build a flame deck. I've been working on all different variations of flame decks, and I keep trying to throw Griddle Greaser Pete in there now because he is my favorite card from UFO. Now we are going to go on to what I call the promo card. It doesn't have to be a promo card. It could be from one of the subsets. So for those of you who don't know, MetaZoo has some mini sets for essentially released in between their core sets. These could be with partnerships that they have. This could be just for holidays and things like that. But MetaZoo is, like we were saying in other episodes, it's very busy. And if you're not in the Discord, like sometimes you'll miss these things. But they do have these random, small, short little drops that do happen. And most of the times you would want to pick up this stuff because not only are the cards collectible, but they are also playable a lot of the time, which is kind of crazy to me. But with that being said, the One-Eyed Crow, what is your favorite promo or, subset card?
Yeah, and just to add on to that real quick, if you are a collector, if you're here to collect, those are the drops that you want to be in, not the core set, because those are the ones that are going to be the rares.
Agreed.
For a promo, my favorite card has to do actually with how MetaZoo as a company handled themselves. So I think that it's really good for an individual or for a company to be able to take something negative and spin it around. So the card that I chose is Metapoo.
I know where you're going.
The card that I chose is Metapoo. So you have people on the positive side, you have people on the negative side, right? You have people that are out there saying things like Metapoo, Dedapoo, etc., right? And I was really impressed with what MetaZoo did by doing the Metapoo card and actually making it the chase of the Magic Cast boxes. Because it was basically them saying, oh yeah, cool, we're going to own it. We're going to make a special promo for this thing that you think you're taunting us with. And we're going to make that the chase for this special set for April Fool's Day. So, I was fooled by the Magic Cast set. I will say that. I thought it was going to be an actual, okay, this is what Magic Cast was going to be. Here's some of the original art. I loved that we were fooled by it because, one, because of the whole Metapoo thing, but because it was, how did we not expect it? It's an April 1st drop. We were all just so excited.
What I love about it is it's almost like exactly what, I don't know, your parents or your teacher might say to you when you're being bullied. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, if you show a reaction, then they're gonna keep wanting to bully you. But if you just embrace it, if you own it,
you'll be like, this dude's weird.
It'll lose all of its power.
He likes being made fun of. Let's leave him alone.
He does not care. He's still going to do what he wants to do at the end of the day, and I respect that.
Yep. And it's exactly why I love that card, and it's to this day one of my favorite promos. Not from a playability perspective, but from just a general kind of promo
that's
and
awesome.
how it was released perspective.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's an amazing pick. Deadly, go ahead with your choice for promos or subset.
Yeah, so now I'm feeling like I'm just lame because I'm picking all like the just like usual ones. Everybody's like, yeah, he's gonna pick this one next.
Yeah, you're lame. We get it.
So it's first anniversary celebration.
Lame.
Lame.
It is gameplay-esque. You can put it in two of them in any spell book, really, and it's a game changer. It's a potential board clear if you play it at the right time for yourself. Overall, and I mean, who doesn't like happy birthday?
Cake.
Who doesn't like cake and a birthday?
Cake's good.
No, it's one of my favorite cards, and for playability, it's almost a must.
I mean, on the art on it too, you got. I'm pretty sure that's Bigfoot.
You got a bunch.
Fresno's, Dingbell, Mothman, Alligator. You got Flatwood, and you got Hopkinsville Goblin. Yeah. And they're all having a frickin' party. Tell me that's not your favorite card right now.
It's not.
I didn't know. It's a trap card.
It's a trap.
Would you ever play this as a trap? Like, you wouldn't want to
personally
have control.
Yeah, you can, but I'm very specific.
My opinion is no, because here's the reason why. No matter what, it's 3 turns that thing is using. So you're giving your opponent 2 turns to use that thing, and you only 1 when you use it as a trap, as opposed to you being able to use it twice.
Hands down,
and your opponent use it
never
once.
use it as a trap.
Yeah, so I would not use it as a trap.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
So that's just my opinion.
Okay, but it says the end of your next turn, so technically you're just losing. So no, but technically you're just losing half of it. No, you're not wrong. You're losing. Yes. You're losing half of it. So you would get to use it on my turn, then it would pass turn, then it comes back and then end of this turn. If I use it as a trap,
that's it.
You come back to my turn, I get my turn, and then it's gone.
Yeah, so if I use it on my turn, I get it twice. But if I use it as a trap, I only use it once still.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my choice is the only one of my choices that I feel like is probably going to come out of like complete left field that no one's going to pretty much expect. But kind of like the One-Eyed Crow, this one kind of has a story behind it to me, and that's why I chose it. I chose Fourth Wall, which is also from Magicast or the April Fool's set that Metapoo is from. And the reason I chose this one is because I even actually use this card in Caster's Cup.
Yep.
Every time I use this card, what it does is it gets rid of a Fourth Wall item on the opponent's list, but they also get to get rid of one of mine. I'm willing to make that sacrifice to make it so that the frog does not have his glass of water. Because with no glass of water,
frog is thirsty.
The frog has no ability. His only ability, he doesn't have an attack. His only ability is a Fourth Wall ability if there's a glass of water in sight. So I will put that card out, and it's an 80 LP, so it's pretty powerful too, actually.
It's it's strong.
It will get rid of that glass of water where they can't use their frogman against me unless they have something to kill it, obviously.
You can have 4 of them in your spellbook too. Fourth wall.
Four.
But I'm one of these people who, I've shared this with the One-Eyed Crow and Deadly before. I like to mess with people. It's just in my nature. I'm a prankster. I'm a jokester. So I'm one of these people who likes to build like kind of off the wall decks. I want you to mill your whole hand if possible. I want to screw you over for lack of better terms. So when I play this card, every time I have played this card, the look on my opponent's face is priceless.
Nobody knows what it is because the set was so hidden. It really was hidden. Nobody knew what these cards were.
So I play that. Yeah.
When you play, so you like to mess with people a little bit. When you play that, when you go into a game where you know you're going to play Fourth Wall, Do you only go in with 3 fourth wall items that you're going to use, and then something juicy that you know they're going to pick?
So, no, honestly, pretty much every time I've used it, I believe I was playing Quets.
Okay.
So, I pretty much knew they were going to go for a light bulb.
But that's like 10. That's 10 LP added on. I mean, like you're going from 90 to 80.
To take that. Yeah, I was willing to take that.
Absolutely.
And every single time, that's what they chose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was way more than willing to just go in with my normal, whatever I was going to do, and sacrifice my 1 so that you couldn't lock me down.
Yep.
But literally, the only reason I'm choosing this, honestly, is the look on my opponent's faces.
It's not the art, it's not the playability, it's the shock value of being like, what the heck is that?
Every single time I've played this card, they all like at first almost like act like they knew what it does. They're like, oh, okay.
Oh, can I read
what
that?
does that do? Yeah.
What does that do?
And then I'm like, and then my response is literally, you no longer have a glass of water, but you get to choose one of mine that you no longer have. And they go, what? No glass of water? And I'm like, yeah.
You have no fourth wall.
Man.
Feeling thirsty?
Yeah. Yeah. So I chose fourth wall because to me it's just a very fun card, and it does not only have to be used against Frog, by the way. Like that's just how I've used it for that ability. But there's a ton of fourth walls in there. You know, you don't want Omni-Cook having a fishing rod. You know. There's a few things that you're going to use it against.
That's huge going into a big tournament like that when you know, or you have a good idea. You don't know what the meta's going to be. And if it's going to be heavily dependent on a fourth wall, you put that in.
Side deck.
Yeah, for Caster's Cup, I was side decking 2. And which honestly didn't happen as often as I thought it would, when I was going up against Frog, I would throw both of them in there.
Yep.
This way I had the ability to hopefully get 1 per Frog, and then I was able to take care of the Frog. Because when that Frog is out, if you don't take care of him immediately, it's pretty much...
He starts controlling the board. Starts controlling your side of the arena.
So, I really enjoyed doing this segment. I really enjoyed getting every single one of your opinions. And I'm kind of glad we got to do this. This was and is our longest episode so far, but I think it was well worth it. So with that, we are done with all the topics for this episode. So I just wanted to ask first, Deadly, are there any last comments or thoughts that you wanted to say before we close out?
Come by the Discord. Let us know some of your favorite cards. We would love to hear exactly where everybody. I mean, I was so surprised by the One-Eyed Crow. MJ, I was surprised by some of your choices. It kind of opens my eyes a little bit to see what other people are thinking.
Yeah. And the One-Eyed Crow, you got any last thoughts or anything you want to say before we close out?
Yeah, I want to say, I guess, this episode has been the most fun of the 3, I think, so far that we've done. I really enjoy, just talking with you guys. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for inviting me onto this show, this idea that you guys had.
Well, thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, of course.
So with that being said, I just wanted to let everybody know, since Deadly mentioned the Discord, I did not mention this in the last episode, so I apologize for that. But if you do join our Discord, we do have a section in the Discord where you could leave us, any suggestions for the podcast, for what you're watching currently. And you're also able to ask us any questions that we could answer on the podcast or, through the Discord as well, and go over on the podcast. So there will be a link to that, to our Discord in the description. The Discord is called Caster's Corner. That is also the name of our, competitive team that all 3 of us are a part of, which is sponsored by Immortal Workshop, as well as this podcast. You'll be able to find his link down in the description as well. And the One-Eyed Crow, the co-host here, he also runs his own channel called Cryptid Nation News, where he does a weekly update on MetaZoo news. So you will also be able to find his link in the description.
Check that out.
Lastly,
Don't do
I
it,
just
it's a
want to
trap.
mention that. Lastly, I just want to mention that every single Friday, Caster's Corner in our Discord, we do host a Learn to Play event. This event is found on the Play Network, so you will be able to sign up on the Play Network, and that link will also be down below in the description. This is a webcam event, so you will need physical cards and a camera to participate in the Discord. But it's a very casual way for anybody who wants to learn the game. There's no judgment and there's no time limit. We are just there to answer questions, help play, and get new people involved in the game.
I think we usually do a giveaway too sometimes on Fridays. So
Yes.
if you want to enter into the giveaway, Friday, come by.
Yeah, usually when we're doing these events, I will do like a spin wheel giveaway during the event as well for anybody who's participating. So come on, join the event, and maybe you'll get some product as well. But with that being said, we appreciate everybody watching and listening, and that's all for this week, guys. We'll see you next week. Have a
See
good
you
one.
guys.
Have a good one.